6. Good. Okay, we'll start over. Good morning. Pat Zemer here with MagnaWave. We now have sound. We had to make some adjustments there to get the sound turned back on because we were at MagnaCon last week and adjustments were changed on the equipment. So I apologize for that, but we're glad to be here with you this morning to answer your questions and discuss anything that you might like to discuss about MagnaWave or PEMF, whether it be machine, certification, training, protocols, guidelines, specific questions, whatever it is. Just post them in the chat box here on Facebook or on YouTube, and we will certainly answer your questions. If you'd like to talk with me, text me your name to 502-599-9722, and I will call you right back and have a discussion with you about whatever it is that you would like to talk about. We always go deeper, and I enjoy how the conversations can get deeper into the topic when we have the conversations together on the phone and then broadcast to our listeners and viewers. So with that, I will cover a few things. MagnaCon was last week, and I know this will probably be edited at some point, so this little blurb isn't in there, but MagnaCon was last week, and it was excellent. We had over 200 people with us here in Louisville for the event. We had live activity, live hands-on training with horses, small animals, people. We just covered the gamut as much as we possibly could. Everybody had a lot of fun. It seemed like everything went smoothly. Wore me out. I mean, it'll flat wear a person out for those actually 4 days, because we start gearing up on Tuesday, then it runs through Friday, and then you got to close up on Saturday. 5 days when you get right down to it of constant activity. But it went very well. I thank everyone who came. I hope you enjoyed it. The evening at Churchill Downs was absolutely fantastic. The weather was perfect. Food was good. We had a good time at Churchill Downs, and then our gala on Friday evening this year, it was Speakeasy. So we had a good time there with dancing. Lane's husband's band came and played, and we had a lot of good dancing, a lot of good time. Gave away some nice prizes and gifts. So we had a great time at MagnaCon. If you want to come next year so you can see clearly in the future, it's going to be MagnaCon 2020. Did you get that clearly in the... Never mind. MagnaCon 2020 will be, I think the dates have been established, June 10th, 11th, and 12th. Of next year, so we're going to get on it immediately. We've learned that we really want to fine-tune some things further and go deeper in what we're doing. So we're going to start the process actually with planning meetings starting tomorrow to begin planning MagnaCon 2020 for a clear view into the future. Can't quit, can't give that up. All right, so that's MagnaCon next year. We had a great time this year. If you have a question, throw it up on the chat box, and I'd be happy to answer it for you. One of the questions that we were asked at MagnaCon, and I think it's very good, and Aaron's asked that I cover it this morning, is the MagnaWave, the Zoom paddle. Why does it feel differently than the other attachments? Well, the primary reason for that is, and I'll try to explain this to you, if you can take a look at this horseshoe that I have here, a Justify horseshoe from the Justify horse that won the Triple Crown. Same shoe that the horse wore, same type of shoe, if you will. But the regular coil is circular like the shoe itself, and the signal comes out of the coil and goes back in towards the center, giving you a more of a fountain effect. And so that's why, and it feels a particular way as it's delivered that way. I would say that it's a little softer than what the paddle that I'm going to describe delivers. And then if that's a digital machine, it is a little softer yet, because as we've talked, the digital signals have a little dome at the top. The spark chamber signals are a little sharper at the top, so they're a little sharper, a little more intense when they go in. But when they're in this coil, like it's a total circular, the way the large loop, the butterfly, the wave wings, and those operate, comes out like a fountain, so it goes in like a fountain, a little softer. The paddle, on the other hand, is solid, and it is made in a fashion, it's called a pure Tesla coil, meaning that as as the coil is spun, it goes all the way out to the edge, and the copper wire is actually laying on next to itself. It's touching as it goes out. What that creates, it doesn't have the ability, it tries to have the ability to come out like a fountain, but it doesn't do that because of the way it's made. It comes out more like a spotlight. Those bright spotlights that you'll see, the police use them, boats use them, various people have them for their hunting, so on and so forth, but they're very bright spotlights. So that's the way the paddle produces its field of penetration. Well, when that comes out, that means it's more intense. So if you put it on your hand, if you put that coil, put your hand out and laid your hand on that coil, and it would come through, you would feel it hitting all of your joints, more like, I don't want to use, but it's just more intense. It's sharper, if you will. Have a little electric feel to it as it enters, as you begin to turn it up. So the reason the paddle feels differently than the other coils is because of the way it comes out. If you look at those lights, when someone has that spotlight, you really can't look into it. Well, it's a similar kind of thing. It's that intense as it comes out of the paddle. Basically, the paddle, it doubles whatever the intensity is of the devices, and I'll go a little bit there as well. When you have a device, the device is designed to produce, let's just say at maximum capability with the perfect coil, 1.9 Tesla, let's say. The Max machine, or the upper end Maya, is designed to produce that much power. The coil itself, the application of the applicator itself, really takes and stipulates what that power is going to be. In other words, a great big coil is a larger area, so it produces less Gauss, or less energy that comes out than a coil that's small, let's say this size. These are more intense, and you'll get more Gauss out of a smaller coil than you do out of a great big coil. So that's how it progresses through the way the power goes. So when you use the paddle, like I said, that's wound in a pure Tesla fashion, it will produce the maximum output that the machine is designed to produce. Whereas the other coils, just by virtue of their size and the number of turns, the number of pieces of copper wire that are in those coils, has a direct impact on what the Gauss delivery from those coils is. That is why we have on the semi machine, for example, if you use the semi with the large loop, the butterfly, or the wave wings, it fits, it meets the FEI criteria because it only produces less than 1,000 Gauss coming out of those coils produced by the semi. It is possible to use, for example, the Max machine with the large wave wings and produce less than 1,000 Gauss. Now, the way we measured that is we took the Max machine, put the large wave wings on it, turned the machine all the way up to see how much Gauss was produced for those great big wings, and it was just under 1,000 Gauss. So each attachment regulates what can be delivered, and that's on the maximum setting, if you will. So that's how we measure those signals and how those devices can be used in various ways, and how the Gauss is delivered. Great question, and I hope that gives you some clarity. Again, the paddle is just by design produces more intensity, and it feels a little different than the other coils because of the way the signal is delivered. Let's see. Okay, here's a question. It should be. We had a setup issue. We were answering the sound question. So if you have a question, put it in the chat box. It'll come up here for me. Put it in the chat box on YouTube or on Facebook, or give me a call or send a text to 502-599-9722, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Are you getting your Facebook on there, on the chat thing?
I do have Facebook on. Well, let's see.
That's fine. Someone wants to know, should they wait 10 days before working on a fracture?
Okay, great question. And I will say that there's a couple of answers to this particular question. In the horse world, in the animal world, because we want things to be correct, in the equine world, we recommend waiting 10 days or so before you start working. And it's a pretty simple answer. Years ago, we would start treating horses if they had a fracture immediately. You can do that, but what we don't want to create is a false positive. Quite often when we start treating if you had a break and you began to treat it the day of the break, and you came back 3 weeks later, let's say, and you did an x-ray, the break may look very solid, it may look very good, but yet on the inside where the bone is healing, it may still have some to go. So what we like to do is, because if you start immediately, you can create that healing. You can help the healing on the exterior part of the bone, and then not really see what's going on the inside. So we recommend that you wait 10 days so the bone begins to heal from the inside out, and then as you begin to treat, you will see that it enhances that healing. And so if someone does a radiograph 3 or 4 weeks out and it's still not healed, you'll see that. You'll see that it's soft yet in an area or not yet closed in a particular area. So that's why we recommend. What would happen, what could happen is you take a radiograph, oh, it looks great, it's healed, well, let's start working again. And they weren't ready to work again. So that's why we wait. On the human side of the spectrum, to where someone's in a boot or they're in a cast and they fracture it, you can really begin treating immediately, because they're not going to be looking at anything any differently, and they understand how long it needs to go in order to have the proper healing. So it's never wrong to wait 10 to 12 days before you start to treat. On a person, you can start a little sooner because they understand where things are going, and a person will tell you, it's still brittle, or not brittle, but it's still sore. I just don't feel the strength on it that I want to have, or when I put it down, put my weight on it. A horse won't tell you that. A horse just wants to go and move around and do its stuff. So that's why we go both directions in that particular situation. So again, it never hurts to wait that length of time. On a horse, we certainly, or even a small animal, we certainly recommend that. But or particularly a competition small animal. If a dog is an agility dog or some type of show dog, you want to make sure that everything is healing as best as possible as you move along. Okay, great question, thanks. I don't know why that came up from YouTube. I mean, that question did not. I'm getting questions from YouTube, but not Facebook.
Explain the advantage of a Max versus a Pulse Pro, the differences.
Max between a Max and a Pulse Pro. They're very similar. They're both spark chamber machines. The Pulse Pro is designed very similar to the Max in terms of its potential maximum output. If you would take a Pulse Pro and turn it all the way up as high as it will go, you'll receive 2 clicks per second. If you take a Max and turn it up as high as it will go, you'll receive 1 click per second, meaning the Max is a little stronger than the Pulse Pro, maybe by 10%, 10 to 15%, very much like the Max and the Maya as far as separation is concerned, but their signal delivery is the same. Their ultimate strength is very close to each other. As I said, the Max is stronger, does deliver an intensity of 1 click per second, which was pretty good in terms of the intensity difference, and the Pulse Pro does 2 clicks per second at its highest setting. In terms of result, just like even going down to the Vesta Duo or the Semi 5 or the Semi 3, the results can be very similar. When you get to the very weak units like the Semi, are not very weak, but the weaker, smaller units like the Semi, in some cases, if you're treating a joint, you may double your treatment times, or if you're treating the body, you're never going to turn the Max all the way up when you treat the body. You're not going to turn the Pulse Pro all the way up when you're treating the overall body. So they're right there in the same energy fields as it's being delivered. Probably the biggest difference between the Max and the current Pulse Pro is the Max is built more like a tank. And the Pulse Pro is built more like a truck. So they both will get you where you want to go. They're both durable, but the Max is just built like a tank, and the Pulse Pro is built a little differently. Does that mean it won't hold up? No, it does not mean that at all. It just means that it's just not ultimately as durable currently as the Max machine may be. But in terms of result that you're looking for, any of the devices we have operate in the same manner. They all operate with what we call a ringer type of situation, where the signal fires. They call that the ring, and then it stops, but you get the reverberation effect through the body. But it's a starting and stop type of signal. They all deliver that, so you're getting the same cellular function with all of the devices, whether it's the Max or the Semi 3 or even the B2 machine, brain and body machine. So I hope that helps answer the question. If you'd like a little further clarification, just post it there, and Chris will certainly get me the question.
Yep.
Do you have any digital CE approved PEMF systems to be used in Europe? This is from a new person asking this question, and the answer to the question is that the Semi device, the Maya, and the Semi and the Maya are CE approved at this point for use in Europe. They've passed every part of the CE necessary, including the factory inspection, which took place back in January and February of this year. And what we're waiting on is the letter from the regulatory board of the European CE that covers all the various countries to submit that final letter to us. They're telling us that it's complete. They're telling us, they even are saying, why? We don't understand why you don't have it. But at any rate, that's what's being waited on. We're waiting on that at the factory to have that. So we have certificate, we have the CE number, we have everything in place. So the answer to your question is we're right there with regard to CE approval, and soon it'll be available that we can then in fact sticker the units as CE approved. To my knowledge today, we're the only company, the factory that we utilize, and our associate companies are the only company that has taken the effort to become CE approved medically in the countries that use that designation. The CE in Europe, the medical CE in Europe, is much like the FDA approval here in the United States. So we work down that road. In order to do that, just so you further understand this also, is that we can send units to Europe for veterinary purposes. If they're to be used in a veterinary line, we can send devices to Europe. To send, or to Canada, to send devices for medical use, they must be CE medical approved. To have that designation, you have to be safety cleared in the United States, meaning you have, and I'm going to use the term, the one that everybody's familiar with, is UL tested. We use a similar company called Intertech who did the safety testing on our equipment. So you must be safety tested, safety cleared in the United States with regard to operation. The device is built in such a manner that it's safe to operate. It can be used in these types of situations, health and wellness situations, on people so for a U.S. device to go to Europe for human use must be safety cleared, CE cleared, or CE, a member of the CE, and then go through all the factory inspections to show that you meet all the qualifications and requirements that they have in Europe. We're one of the only associates of companies, or company of associates, that does safety test the equipment. That is available for human export to the countries that accept or require CE for those purposes. Most other folks don't go to that expense or time to test their equipment because they want to do business only here in the United States, or they're not concerned about doing business elsewhere or using the device for human use elsewhere. To that regard, we have devices, the digital devices, again, the Semi, Maya devices, and soon the Vesta Duo, that we are working for FDA approval here in the United States for specific uses in health and wellness. And again, that's a very arduous process that we are following. The spark chamber devices, being the Max, the Pulse Pro, and so forth, are not in that lane at this point for FDA clearance in the United States. The digital devices are, and part of that is because of how they're operated, how they're controlled. The FDA kind of likes things to be very cut and dry with how they're turned on, turned off, started, stopped, how you change the various power intensities going down the road with those types of devices. The Vesta Duo, as I talked about, is currently in safety testing. It is the newest of the units. The Simi has been around for a few years. The Maya has been around for a few years. The Vesta Duo, I believe we've had out now for about a year, but it is in the process of completing the safety testing on the device, and then it will be added to the CE and the US FDA channels. And that's how that whole thing unfolds with those various devices. If you have a question, please put it up in the chat box and I will be happy to do it. I think we have a question.
Yes. Someone's recommended in a loose set of guidelines for a client with breast cancer who is not doing chemo or radiation.
Okay. What has been found over the years, and there is an FDA cleared device today for glioblastoma brain tumors that is a PEMF device, but over the years in the veterinary space they have found, and we've seen, and in Europe, that the device is very effective for reducing the size of tumors, helping the oxygenation of the body, which then the cancer doesn't like oxygen, and so if the oxygen can be improved, that can help fight the cancer. The white blood cells are larger as a result of these treatments, better allowing them to do their job in the fight against cancer or body health. And so specifically to the breast cancer situation, we had a speaker at MagnaCon this week who has had breast cancer issues over the years and has always had problems with her mammograms, that there were lumps there or things showing up, and they were always questioning what they were. But since she's been using PEMF for the last couple of years, she basically puts the large mat or sometimes opens up the butterfly and places it over her chest. Her mammograms have been clear. Everything's been working just fine. So the procedure would be that if you wanted to work with pain and work with oxygenation to help potentially reduce size of tumors and so forth, it's certainly an application that could be used, that many people have used. You always want to clear that with your doctor. We typically in the United States do not treat for pain or the situation when someone is on chemotherapy. We wait till the chemotherapy is completed in 24 hours or so, and then we begin treating for the period of time before their next chemo treatment or ongoing if they're not going to have further chemo. The reason for that is chemo, quite often people have what I will say an adverse result or an adverse situation with the chemo, and they become ill. It makes them sick. Well, we don't want to enhance that with the utilization of PEMF. So in the United States, we wait till the chemotherapy is completed. In other countries, in Europe, for example, where PEMF has been more of a mainline form of medicine for years and for forever, basically. That's where Tesla was and all this stuff began. And in Greece, it is used in conjunction with chemotherapy because they want to enhance the effect of what the chemotherapy is doing in its fight against the cancerous cells or cancer tumors, or tumors as a result of what's going on. So in the United States, we kind of move away from that. In other countries, they go more straight on. There are some tests or some studies that are being designed and being tried around the world where you can use a lesser amount of chemo along with PEMF to enhance how the chemo works, but you're not increasing the amount of poison that you're putting into the body, or poison, or some people term it as poison, but what the chemo drug in fact does. So I hope that helps with regard to the breast cancer or tumor type of situation. In my personal example, which we've talked about before with a prostate scare, using the PEMF certainly controlled the inflammation and the oxygenation in my body, and when they did the biopsy and what was there was dead and benign, so we were very happy with that. But that's with the application, daily application of PEMF from the time of my diagnosis or the time that they wanted to check it further till the actually 10 weeks until they were able to do the biopsy. So if you have further questions on that, just simply put it in the chat box and I'd be happy to take that further. If you'd like to discuss it further, send me a text to 502-599-9722. Great job, Tony, putting that up there so I can see it. As we move, do we have another question?
Yep. So Felicia Carroll, you talked to her at MagnaCon, she says. Her horse got worse on Friday and has foundered with a slight rotation in the left foot. Should she continue to treat as high as possible?
No, I would basically, Felicia's got a situation that they really have been, everybody struggling with trying to figure out what's going on with this particular horse and with its founder situation, and it's something that you can treat and it's still there. The vets are talking about it. They've kind of come back thinking there could be some dietary action taking place that's exacerbating this particular problem. What I would do, Felicia, is I would just continue to treat, but I would kind of go more moderate until they get things figured out. Let's work on the circulation, the basic blood oxygenation to enhance that particular area as you nail down further what could be going on with that particular animal as the veterinarians work to further isolate what's happening. Thanks for the question. Anything else?
Yes, we have one here. Open wounds that are wrapped on horses, can you treat those as well?
If the open wound is bandaged, you can treat right over the bandaged area, and you will, in fact, with the potentiality of better oxygenation and better blood flow to the area, help speed up the healing process of that wound. So the fact that there's a bandage does not mean that you can't treat. In fact, you can treat through casts. If you're treating a person or a dog that has a hard cast or a boot, you can treat right through that, and a bandage you can treat right through that as well. Or in many cases, what folks will do if it's an open wound, they'll get ready to dress the wound, clean it, get it ready to go for a new bandage. They'll treat it for 5 to 10 minutes and then bandage to get that activity going. But the bandage will not slow down or impede anything taking place as you're treating.
And they've also worked on people that had a chronic issue and they don't feel the machine at all. Is that nerve damage?
Well, depending on what the issue is, but if they don't feel it at all in a particular area, and this is an interesting thing, people have different thresholds of pain. And so they may be having a lot of pain, but their threshold is high. So as you're applying the energy to the body, they're really not feeling it hitting them or going into their body like someone else might feel it. Could you take that back to nerve damage in a particular area that is stopping the pain from being, much like if someone has a broken back or something like that and they're not feeling pain in an area or that type of thing? I suppose that could be an issue there, that it could be from the potentiality of nerve damage. We have that a lot with neuropathy. When someone has neuropathy and you can get it and they feel it, but it depends how long they've had it. What is their percentage of involvement with the neuropathy? If they're 85% is a number that you hear. If they developed 85% of issue in their feet or their legs, it's very difficult to bring that down. If you can start treating as it's developing, and in the, let's say, 20, 30, 40% ranges, in many cases you can regress that and have it come back, and you can certainly with circulation and oxygenation kind of stall it to keep it from moving more. We have that with arthritis. Arthritis is quite often exacerbated by the buildup of calcium over your joints area or through your joints, which makes some moving a little difficult. The nerves and the muscles that go over the joint become irritated by the fact that the calcium is there. Can we reduce the inflammation on the nerve and give some pain relief? Yes, but we don't reduce the calcium. This doesn't go in and break up calcium and clear it out. It can slow the development of the calcium over the joint area, and thereby keeping it from getting potentially worse, and maybe bringing it into a control type of situation. So that's one of the things. The real beauty of where we're going, and the real, as we get further into this, is the opportunity to use this technology, to use this energy that we're producing for not only recovery but for prevention. If we can treat your hands, if you're 30 years old today and you've had a lot of arthritis in your family, in your hands, the best thing you could do is to begin treating your hands today. And so it doesn't get to the point that maybe others in your family have experienced with the development of the calcium and the disc formation and things that take place in your hands and so forth. I hope that helps with that explanation or that question that you've asked. Anything else?
Ivy Wong wants to know about C60 dosage, regular C60 dosage.
Okay, let me think back on the regular C60 dosage in the bottle. Typically, what they recommended from C60 or from Living Longer Labs was to do 3 to 4 dropperfuls twice a day. In many cases. Now, I do know people who have had very good results with C60 doing 3 dropperfuls or 4 dropperfuls once a day, depending on their stature, how it gets assimilated into the body. All of that comes into it. But I would say, and what I did in the beginning, Ivy, was I did 3 dropperfuls in the morning and 3 dropperfuls in the evening or at bedtime. Every day, and over a period of it was about 3 months prior to my next physical that I began this regimen, and my blood work was almost 100% different when they did it, improved over other times when they've done my blood work, and that has continued for the last 3 years that I've been actively taking C60. There was a time that I was up to 5 dropperfuls. No particular reason. Talking to Max and the different people living longer, Max did 5 dropperfuls, so I thought, okay, I'll try that. Everything as far as my blood work and the stability of my blood work has continued to be better than it was prior to C60, and I've not had a telomere test to where they check the length or the ends of the telomeres. What C60 does is it basically the end of your chromosome or chromosomes is the telomeres are on there to protect, to give balance to the string, if you will, and as those diminish in size, then that's where the aging stuff comes along. That's where the chromosomes begin to show, allow us to age or whatever, or don't do their job as well as they could, balance-wise, health-wise, so on and so forth. And the C60 has been shown to help with the protective telomere area of the chromosomes, and so that's the issue. So Ivy, I would suggest if you're doing the liquid, the dropper form, I would do 3 dropperfuls in the morning and 3 in the evening, and then when you do for your next physical, see how things come out with the blood work and how you feel, and so on and so forth. I would like to get a telomere test to see where I am with my age and that type of stuff. There's a lot of things that add to that, but at any rate, that's the dosage of the C60 that we recommend starting at. With the pills, with the C60 black seed oil capsules that we have today, black seed oil is a form of medicinal that is used around the world that has a lot of good health properties that have been shown with its application, and then they're combining C60 to it, and people are having a very good result with that type of application. I have switched from the dropperfuls to the capsules to see how they do, and the whole 9 yards there. And I am taking 3 capsules. Sometimes I take 5 capsules at a time, morning and evening, or pretty much. I don't do the evening. Max does. I do 3 to 5 capsules in the morning because I don't think about going back and taking them. I don't have any other medications that I'm directed to take in the evening, so I just don't think about doing that. The issue with the capsule, when you use the droplets under the tongue, you're getting some sublingual result, and it's absorbed into the system a little easier. When you use the gel caps now, you put it into your gut, and it needs to be released and help get to the body in that fashion. So there is what you might call a lead lag. You don't get quite the absorption with the gel caps that you do with the dropperfuls. But the gel caps they don't have the taste. Some people don't like the taste of whether it's the olive oil, the avocado, whatever it may be, on the basis of the droppers. Whereas with the gel caps, you just take them and bingo, there's no taste. You just do it and away you go. So it's a personal preference on what some people like. The black seed oil, if you read about that, go to Google and look up black seed oil, how it's used in around the world, and then couple that with the C60. Kind of interesting. So we're excited about that as we move forward. If you have questions and you're on YouTube, just put it in the YouTube chat box. It'll come right here on my computer. Next week we'll have it so the Facebook comes up here also on the computer, but or put it into the Facebook chat box, or send me a text to 502-599-9722, and I'd be more than happy to answer your questions, whatever they may be. We're about 5 minutes to the hour 10. We were a little late getting started this morning. It was about 10 minutes after 9 before we got going. I'm moving a little slower today than I wanted to, just getting here and getting set up. I do feel, boy, I tell you, MagnaCon wore me out. Saturday when it was over, I was tired. Saturday night I was done. I was sore. Sore in my joints, and needed to do something for that. And Sunday was better through the day, but really tired and sore Sunday night. Yesterday I felt pretty good, totally recovered, if you will. At my age, which is, I'm having fun, but I guess I just can't go as long and as fast as you used to. But that's okay. I used PEMF to feel better, and I did all weekend long. I used my own stuff to help feel better and get better energy. If you have a question, simply put it up there, and I'd be more than happy to address it at this time. Anything there, Chris? Nothing else? Okay. So if you have questions, there were a couple other questions that came in. Video on YouTube. Is there a video on YouTube that explains how PEMF helps with migraines? I'm sure if you go to our channel and put in migraines, we've got some videos where we've discussed them on the office hours or in webinars, talked about migraines. Basically, so I'm sure there is something there on YouTube on the MagnaWave channel or elsewhere on YouTube talking about migraines. Basically, the situation there is we want to treat the back of the head or the area where you're having some difficulty. What do we want to do is we want to improve the blood flow to the area. We want to improve oxygenation to the area, which takes away inflammation. Migraines are a result of something happening, whether it's a dietary trigger or an emotional trigger, whatever happens, but the pain comes from inflammation in the area of the brain or where you're having it, and the severity of the inflammation directly relates to the severity of the migraine. So if we can help the circulation, we certainly want to do that. A lot of people who have migraines at onset, it's coming. If they get to treating immediately, then they can slow that down, or maybe keep that trigger from fully engaging and that migraine taking place, if you will. So other people treat themselves regularly if they have a propensity to have migraines more often. So if they could just keep good blood circulation into the head. We also recommend treating the feet, which is kind of a reflexology type of thing going on as you treat the feet with a migraine or a general headache, or even really treating the feet is not a bad deal no matter what you're doing. But we've used it in conjunction with headaches a lot, where you treat the area of the headache and then we treat the feet, and we seem to get a more rapid reaction to that type of activity. So to that being said, and there was another question that was asked. Let's see, let me pull it up here. Here's a client with several torn ligaments in his arm. He's been using the MagnaWave prior to the MRI he had done last week. He's going to give me the exact tear of what happened, any chance we could avoid surgery if we continue treatment. Well, here's a situation where someone is asking, I'm going to find out exactly how it's torn and exactly where the tear is. Will it help with that situation? And the answer is, if we improve blood oxygenation and blood flow to the area, we stand a chance of helping that area better heal itself, be in a better balance from the cellular level to do the job that we want to do with the healing process. The exact tear, the exact location of the tear really doesn't enter into what we're dealing with. We're dealing with helping the body better heal itself. But you can treat the exact area. I mean, if you know, is it on the inside, on the outside, on the top of the knee, on the back, or the ankle, or wherever the situation may be, to specifically treat that area can be beneficial. Can you avoid surgery? Perhaps. Can't tell you that you will, but perhaps if you just help the area heal. I had that. I had an MCL that I damaged moving into one of our offices a few years ago, and it sounded like a baseball bat when I hit in my leg when it happened. And I went immediately. I did not have a machine with me because we were moving into the new offices. I immediately went home, treated myself for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then I did that 3 times a day, and I was able to keep going during that process of the healing. I called my doctor and I said, I think maybe I've torn something here because it's painful and it's hurting. Doctor was out of town. They said go to the emergency room. I didn't want to do that, so I continued to treat. When the doctor came back from his vacation, I went to see him. He asked me what I was doing. He knew that we had MagnaWave and we utilized this therapy all the time. And he said, your healing is moving along just fine. I can't do an MRI. Your healing is far enough along that they wouldn't approve an MRI at this point. So just keep going and keep working at it. And I believe it was about 2 months, 2.5 months, to where, as opposed to a lot of times it gets into the 4 and 5 month period of time, some people even longer, for these types of things to heal to where they have pretty good daily motion and movement and lack of pain. I was about 3 months, and everything was good and solid. I went back to my doc and he said, everything's clear, have a good day. So as you get into those types of situations with ligament areas and nerves and all that kind of stuff, to know exactly, sure, it's good to know exactly what the tear is or what the diagnosis is. Our protocol is put it on and treat the area, treat the body, get good oxygenation, and let it better enhance what's going on. Let's see. Thoughts on doing, for those who work with thoroughbreds, thoughts on doing sessions on race day. This person's in Ohio and they have no restrictions. What you want to know there, and we're about out of time for today, is what you want to know in regard to race day for horses. It's each horse is different. So you want to work on that horse a few times in a situation that is not race day to see how the horse responds. What we typically do, what I did when I was actively on the road doing treatments, if I had a racehorse and it was race day, we would try to treat 6 to 8 hours out or the night before. We learned if you treated some horses 2 or 3 hours before the race, it may take the edge off and the horse doesn't give you the performance that you're looking for. Other horses you could treat 2 or 3 hours before the race and they'd give you better energy and good oxygen, good endurance, if you will, or being able to run fast longer. And so each animal is different. Each person is different. Some people, you'll treat them today and they feel better tomorrow than they feel today. So so treating a horse race day, if you're allowed to do that, I would learn what effect it has on the horse with regard to edge or no edge or reduced edge, and then treat those horses accordingly. If there is no ruling and they're free to let you do that in Ohio, in Kentucky there are no real regulations on that, but the vets prefer that we be a day out. And people treat their horses, they're going to race today, they treated them last night, or they treated them yesterday morning, and depending on where they are. We've learned that to be 6 to 8, 10 hours out before an event, it's very difficult to go wrong. It is possible to go wrong an hour out. One of the very first practitioners that ever joined me as a practitioner and having a machine treated her horse at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday, went to the ring at 3:30, 4 o'clock, and the horse didn't even want to go to the ring, didn't want to jump a fence, didn't want to do anything. And she was certainly disappointed. The next day, she took the horse out, and it jumped better, had more energy, better range of motion than it had ever had. So she learned immediately this horse gets treated day before, not day of or a few hours before. I've had plenty of instances though where I have treated horses under saddle. They're ready to go, they're going to the ring, the rider's going to get on, and I'm treating each foot for 3 minutes because of the compression that those feet take when they come over the rails, and the compression as they hit the turf or hit the ground. So each animal is different, each situation is different. Now, with that said, if you're going to treat, if a horse has sore knees and range of motion tends to be a little bit of an issue, and you can treat that 3 or 4 hours before the race, you're not going to do an overall adjustment to the horse's edge or whatever by simply treating its knees, each knee, for 3 to 4 minutes prior to a race to give it better range of motion and better feeling, if you will. So that's a little guideline in how you might approach that type of thing with regard to race horses or even performance horses or whatever day of the event. It varies from state to state and ruling to ruling, but each animal, each person is different. Hope that helps with that situation. Anything else, Chris? Okay, everything. Oh, let's see. One question here from YouTube. What is the price of the Vestal Duo be the same? Will the price of the Vestal Duo be the same after CE approval? The answer to that is yes. At this point, there are no price differentiations coming up on the Vestal Duo, and you'll be able to. What we're doing is the machines are basically cleared with regard to the sticker part of the thing. So if someone in Europe has a Vesta Duo or a Semi or a Maya and they're using it in that fashion, once we receive this information, we'll be able to get them the stickers to put onto their machines to show that they are fully CE approved in that arena. So, hope that great question. Thank you for asking. We are out of time. Got another meeting. We're getting ready to start at this point on this Tuesday morning. We're certainly glad you joined us. Great questions today. Always enjoy spending some time and answering those questions. I hope you find it beneficial to yourself as well. So, wave on. Have a great week and a great day, and to create some Magna wellness out there to your clients and customers. Thank you for joining me. Have a great day. Bye-bye.